Now for more, it's a pleasure to welcome to studio Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, well-known American rabbi, author, and television personality. Rabbi, thank you so much for being here right now. You, of course, live in the United States, but you're here in the country. It should have been for beautiful reasons, obviously for the wedding and Mazal Tov to your son for getting married.
Thank you.
Many surprised that weddings can take place during wartime. We will get to that, but I'd like your take on what it's like to be here during wartime. What stands out for you and your family right now?
Three emotions. First of all, terror, frightening. We've had the Qassam rockets fall right near us, constant alerts. Then anger that the world cannot see the justice of Israel's position. And third is shock, and that's really shock at the Israeli people. Listen, we have 3 children in the IDF, and 2 are serving right now on the borders. And the idea that Israel has accepted the status quo, where it's normal to live under constant rocket fire for a decade. The idea that we've allowed Hezbollah to amass the kind of position that is an existential threat to Israel. The idea that my nephews and nieces who live here in Israel are telling us that, oh, it's rocket season. You know, the little kids, in the same way you have NBA season in America, NFL season, there's rocket season. None of this is normal. I am dressed like this. See, Grisha's super sexy, wearing a gorgeous jacket. Look at me. I came by bike. I could have laid down in the middle of the street and been completely safe, except for the Qassams, because there's no cars, there's no one on a bike, there's 2 million people outside this studio in Tel Aviv, and it is a ghost town. We have a couple of monstrous savage thugs with rockets who have shut down a world metropolis, one of the most famous cities in the world. And it's not going to end when Israel destroys Hamas, because Israel's still going to fear a 5th column of Arabs inside the country. Now, the ones who love Israel, my Arab brothers and sisters who understand the value of freedom, democracy, they are my brothers and sisters. But will Israelis continue to live thinking, I can't go down the street because I'm going to be stabbed? I can't go to this place? You know what I'm beginning to see? Israel is congregating into a tiny little circle, a little bubble in Ra'anana, Herzliya. You know, can't go too far north, Hezbollah. Can't go too far south, that's Gaza. Can't go too far east because Judea and Samaria, the West Bank. Should we all gather here in the I-24 studios? This is not normal. None of this is normal. I'm not even talking about the PTSD that children are suffering. I'm talking about the Herzl vision of Israel was not that we would shake and shudder in fear as we lived in a Jewish state, and all I see is fear, and it's affecting me too.
The fear that you're talking about, take us back to the 7th of October, because this is a nation in trauma. The extent of the brutality, the scale of the attacks, the massacres, children burnt in front of their parents, parents butchered in front of their children. The nation is still processing the extent and the gravity and the depravity of what happened. It is very soon on. It is only day 23, and you're absolutely right. Rockets are still coming into residential cities on day 23.
And Israel is a ghost town. Israel is shut down. The whole country is shut down. Okay, people are afraid to go on highways because they don't know if it would happen to us. If an alarm comes, you lie on this street. You're a goner because you can't protect yourself. You go under a bridge. This is insanity. Look, what happened on October 7th was a Holocaust-level day of extinction. The way the Einsatzgruppen looked for people near where my grandfather grew up in Lomsha, near Bialystok, where they took 2,000 Jews. June 1941, burned them alive. These people were burned alive down in Be'eri. I went there. I arrived from the airport from the United States, went with Amichai Eliyahu, Israel's Minister of Heritage, straight to all the places of the massacre. I saw blood congealed on walls that was this thick. I saw the knives used by the terrorists that were still there. We picked up the bullets from the Kalashnikovs that were like this. The IDF bullets were like half the size. I saw it all. But I ask you this question to all the people that are watching. Did it take the murder of 1,400 Jews for us to wake up that none of this is normal? Living with the genocidal threat of Iran is not normal. Living with the genocidal threat of Hezbollah is not normal. When I used to go every war, even if my son, who's in the IDF, didn't get married, and he did, and we brought all of our 9 children, thank God, all of our sons-in-law, our 10 grandchildren, Baruch Hashem, middle of a war, everyone warned us against it. We came. There were Qassam rockets during the Chuppah, which I did. We had Israeli government ministers there. We had the 2 IDF international spokespeople there. Qassam rockets falling during, we had had Doron Spielman, we had Jonathan Conricus.
Not normal,
None
as
of
you
this is
say.
normal. So, did it take the murder of 1,400 Jews in the most savage way for Israel to understand that this is completely different? That if we don't do things very different, number one, we have to know who our friends and enemies are. If someone like Bradley Cooper in Hollywood, even someone, or Ben Affleck signs something which they did saying there should be a ceasefire, they're enemies. We need to make sure that everyone knows, even something as simple as that. Rashida Tlaib is a dyed-in-the-wool anti-Semite. Qatar, who was just on? Qatar are the biggest funders of terrorism in the world, and you're telling me that they're negotiating for our hostages? They want us dead. Let's stop playing games. Qatar is disgusting, grotesque, terror funding. The idea that the United States has an air base there, and we have made peace with that vile government who is like this with Iran, like this with Hamas. They're going to do nothing for our hostages. What we need to communicate to Qatar is the United States will move its base from Qatar unless they immediately expel or at least imprison Ismail Haniyeh, the head of Hamas, who lives in a villa worth $4 billion living there. These are new times because the security situation is out of control. I'll tell you one thing. I believe that Israelis got very complacent. Rockets, no problem. We have Iron Dome. Millions of enemies that want to slaughter us. We are technologically advanced. They're a bunch of bumpkins. We look down at them with our patronizing way. They're knuckle draggers. They could never fight us. We didn't understand that Israel is a war of wills. The original Chalutzim, they came and they carved this country out of swamps, and they carved it out of the sand. This is a game of wills. Can we summon the willpower that we are here forever? That Israel is going to be here forever. And it's not going to be based on drones. It's not going to be based on Iron Dome. It's going to be based on our will to be here and be hated at times, as Golda Meir famously said, that we would much rather be hated and be alive than have more Holocaust movies made about us winning Academy Awards like Schindler's List. I don't want to be dead and sympathized because this is not normal.
Rabbi?
Sorry to sound so passionate, but I got to tell you, this trip especially, I have children in war. Do you know what that's like being an American? Having children at war who volunteered? Do you know what it's like every time we hear that a rocket's gone off here or there and soldiers were killed or injured, and you're looking at your phone and you're praying you don't get a call? Those of you watching around the world, do you know what this is like? When you hear that Israel has a right to defend itself, even that patronizing comment, Jews should no longer die. After 2,000 years, the world has decided you now have a right to defend yourself. Can you imagine if we said New York has a right to not have missiles fired on it? We have to go back to simply wanting the same thing that every other nation has, which is to wake up in the morning and smile. And our worst problem is that we're late for work, not that I have to run to a bomb shelter because I might be obliterated, and if I get on a bike, I may die. Not being hit by a car, but being blown up by a Qassam rocket from a terrorist.
Rabbi, I have 30 seconds left. You have your finger on the pulse of what is happening in the United States, particularly the celebrity world that you alluded to. Are you surprised at the lack of outrage about what happened here and the lack of support for Jews here in Israel right now? Your take very briefly. I have 30 seconds.
There are two kinds of American Jews. There are American Jews who are terrified right now and they're hunkering down and they don't want to be noticed. They're taking off their yarmulkes, etc. Then there are those who said, no, the Jewish Am Yisrael Chai, we have to live. I'm not surprised that Hollywood's immoral. What is Hollywood? Hollywood are entertainers. They're clowns. So no, I'm not surprised at that at all. Forget them, although identify the ones that hate us. What we need to see is an army of Jews who believe that we have to fight for Israel, that even in the United States we have that responsibility. Join me. Join us all. Am Yisrael Chai. Israel has to fight.
Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, Grisha Yakubovich, thank you both very much for being here. Never apologize for being passionate about your beliefs. Thank you very much.